The Word of God tells us in First Timothy chapter number 1 and verse number 4, the Word of God says, "Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions, rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. Now the end of the commandment is charity out of a pure heart and of a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned, from which some having swerved have turned aside unto vain jangling." And so the Word of God says right there that we need to avoid fables, endless genealogies, things that minister questions. We need to avoid such topics. And the Word of God tells us that these things lead to vain jangling. And vain jangling is basically when we argue about things that are meaningless, pointless, just stupid, foolish things, things that we shouldn't even argue about. The Word of God says to stay away from vain jangling because it just doesn't profit anything. It doesn't lead us to God. We need to avoid such things. Well, lately I've heard a lot of people arguing about UFOs. People are talking about, yeah, we got all these aliens visiting our planet and, they're coming in their spacecraft. People are finding them and all this and that. Look, people want to debate about this when you start saying, I don't agree with that. I don't believe in that stuff. I just believe the Bible. They want to argue and fight about these things. Look, I'm not here to argue about aliens. That's just out of my reach. That's not something that we should talk about because it's a foolish subject. It doesn't make sense. My thing is, if we're going to talk about the subject of aliens, let me ask you this one question first. If you die today, are you sure you're going to heaven? If you can't answer that question, then there's nothing for us to argue about. Let's get from point A and then to point B, and then we'll talk. God bless.